The first clue something was off was the silence. Well, not the kind you appreciate on a lazy Saturday, but the uneasy, sharp kind that creeps in just before things get loud. You ever wake up thinking, your day's going to be normal, only to walk into the kind of mess you read about online? That was me, that morning in Greenville, South Carolina, just trying to take out the trash and mind my own business. I step outside, the air's still heavy with dew, and there they are, two guys in black vests flanking Patricia Lockwood, our all-knowing, all-powerful HOA president, standing right on the edge of my driveway like it was some kind of border checkpoint. You know what I mean? They looked like the world's least impressive SWAT team, boots barely tied, vests hanging crooked, community enforcement stitched across their chests like a bad joke from a costume shop. Patricia's standing there, arms folded, chin up, talking like she's the mayor of the whole zip code. Mr. Stone, we need to talk, she says, and I just set the trash down slow, feeling the eyes of every curtain and window on our block. I'd seen enough of people playing cop in my line of work. Usually doesn't end well. One of her backup dancers steps forward, trying to look tough. You're in violation of HOA rules. We're here to detain you until police arrive. I almost laughed. Detain me? On my own driveway. I asked what the charges were, and the other guy, scruffy beard, smelling of nervous sweat, reads off a list that sounded more like a petty grudge than actual crimes. Grass too long, driveway too wide. A barbecue 2 months ago that got a little loud. So, basically living. And then, Patricia, with that sharp edge to her voice, tries to act like this is all in the interest of neighborhood safety. But you could feel it. The real reason's personal, always has been. You've ignored notices, fines, letters. These men are here to make sure you comply, she says, her words as tight as her smile. Thing is, the whole show was just that, a show. There's no such thing as community enforcement, not legally. And when I pointed that out, you could see her cheeks go red. Patricia was used to winning. Arguments at the mailbox, but this wasn't a bake sale, and I wasn't backing down. Now, I've learned the hard way that real authority isn't about barking orders or flashing badges you bought online. So I told them, calm as I could, you've picked the wrong driveway. The tall guy tries to puff himself up, threatening to make it rough if I didn't comply. For a second, nobody moved. Curtains shifted. Someone's phone peeked through a window. Patricia started to unravel, raising her voice, accusing me of being a threat to her community standards, nearly letting slip something ugly about people like me. Yeah, that happened. You ever see somebody reveal more about themselves in one careless sentence than a whole year of board meetings? Before things could get uglier, I heard a kid, Victor Tyler, teenager from down the street, call out, "Yo, Mr. Stone, I got you on live." Sure enough, his phone's aimed right at us, and you could see those two enforcers twitch. The whole neighborhood's watching now, some cheering, some nervous, but everyone finally seeing what this power game really looks like. The tall guy takes a step toward Victor, which was the last straw. I moved between them before he could blink. "Touch that kid and you'll regret it," I said, voice low. He stopped. The whole scene started to shift. Moms with babies, old guys in lawn chairs. Everybody weighing in, asking how this turned into a witch hunt over a patch of grass. And just when Patricia tried to rally the mob, insisting the system needs to be enforced, she let slip something about you and your kind always being a problem. I felt the chill go through the crowd. I stared her down, told her leadership wasn't about control, and that line seemed to echo off every mailbox and gutter on the block. The bearded guy looked ready to bolt, whispering to his partner, but the tall one doubled down, reaching into his vest and pulling out a set of cheap handcuffs. "You're under neighborhood arrest," he announced, as if he'd just solved world peace. Now, here's where everything flipped. The crowd gasped, some started filming closer, and I could see the nerves finally catch up with the officers. I told them, plain as day, if you try to cuff me, that's a felony. Impersonating an officer, unlawful restraint. Think about it. The bearded guy's hand started to shake. Patricia, desperate not to lose face, hissed, "Do it. Show him who's in charge." That's when pride won over common sense. The tall guy lunged, and I moved. Years of training just kicked in. A twist, a sidestep, and those cuffs he tried to slap on me ended up clicking shut on his own wrists. You should have seen the crowd. People cheered. Someone screamed. He flipped it on him. I kept my voice calm, told the tall guy not to resist, told the crowd to stay back, and turned just enough so every phone got a clear shot of the badge I flashed next. I'm Special Agent Maxwell Stone, FBI, I said, the badge catching the sun, the block falling silent. Patricia's face went pale. Austin, the bearded guy, dropped his vest and backed away, muttering about how he never signed up for this, swearing Patricia never told them I was law enforcement. By now, sirens were cutting through the morning, blue and red lights painting the lawns. Real officers stepped out, eyes wide, hands near their holsters, taking in the scene. A fake cop cuffed on my driveway, another one fleeing, and Patricia frozen in place. I kept my tone level, told the officers everything had been recorded, and handed over the would-be enforcer. The officers exchanged a look. One of those quick, silent conversations where respect is given without a word. Patricia tried to bluster, screaming that she was just keeping order, that being HOA president made her untouchable. The lead cop didn't buy it for a second. Ma'am, that title doesn't put you above the law, he said. Voice flat. The crowd was on fire now, yelling for Patricia to be taken away, some shouting about years of harassment, others just shaking their heads at how fast the tables had turned. The officers cuffed Patricia, leading her off as the neighborhood watched, her crown slipping, her power gone. Funny thing about power, you abuse it long enough and eventually it crumbles, especially when you try to wield it against the wrong person. Maxwell Stone was just the guy with the trash that morning, but by noon, the whole street knew exactly who I was and who Patricia wasn't. And as the squad cars rolled away, neighbors who used to be silent turned to each other, some relieved, some stunned, but all with the same question hanging in the humid air. What happens next? When the watchers become the watched. So I gotta ask, have you ever seen someone try to use authority for their own grudge, only to have it blow up in their face? Tell me your stories down below, do. You think Patricia got what she deserved, or was the whole thing overblown? Justice, community, authority, where's the line? Drop your thoughts and hit that subscribe, because stories like this, well, they're happening everywhere, whether we see them or not. Let me back up a sec, because you'd think that'd be the end of it, right? Cops come, the bad actors get hauled off, the neighborhood breathes easy again. But real life's not a movie that fades to black after the big showdown. And trust me, in a place like Greenville, the ripples from a morning like that don't just settle, they spread out in every direction. First off, the aftermath. Yeah, it's awkward. I can't even walk to my mailbox without feeling the weight of 100 looks, some grateful, some bitter, a few just plain confused. The neighborhood Facebook group blows up that night. Half the posts cheering, the other half demanding emergency meetings, talking about restoring order and community values. You know the type. And while Patricia sits in a holding cell somewhere, her loyalists start whispering about how I set her up, like the whole thing was an FBI sting to overthrow the HOA. Makes you laugh. If it wasn't so sad. But that's not even the wildest part. A couple days later, I get a knock at my door. Only this time, it's not a fake cop or angry board member. It's Victor's mom, Sheila, standing there with her son behind her, sheepish but proud. She thanks me, really thanks me, for stepping in, says she'd never realized how scared her own kid was of Patricia and her enforcers. Then, right in front of her boy, she asks if I'd come to the next HOA meeting. You know, maybe speak up for the folks who feel steamrolled but never say a word. Me, public speaking? Not exactly what I signed up for when I bought this house. But looking at Victor, I remember what it was like to be a kid watching adults bend or break rules, and realizing that sometimes you've got to be the one who stands up and says enough. So yeah, I show up to that next meeting. Room packed, tension thick enough to cut with a butter knife. People who'd never spoken at a board meeting before are lining up at the mic, talking about years of fines, backyard inspections, threats. And I don't say much, just tell the truth. That respect isn't something you force with paper threats or hired muscle. That real community is built on trust, not fear. My hands were sweating the whole time, but afterward, a bunch of neighbors, folks I barely knew, came up and shook my hand. Even old Mr. Wilkins, the guy who once threatened to call the city if my grass grew a half-inch too long, just nodded and said, "Didn't know you had it in you, son." guess we were all seeing each other a little different. That night, the fallout for Patricia? Well, the board suspended her, pinning the police investigation. Justin and Austin, the enforcers, they lawyered up fast, but with half the street's footage and a stack of trespassing charges. Their story was over before it began. The HOA, suddenly desperate to save face, promised reforms. Real transparency, open votes, no more secret fines. Still, some folks missed the old days, when fear kept everyone quiet, and you could see them watching me, waiting for me to slip up, hoping I'd just sell and move on. But honestly, I wasn't going anywhere. I put down roots here, and if this mess taught me anything, it's that bullies count on good people staying quiet. That's how power works in a small town, or any town, really. Most days, I still just want to be the guy who takes out the trash and mows his lawn without drama. But now, if someone asks, I tell them the truth. Stand up, even when your voice shakes, because you never know who's watching, who's quietly hoping you'll go first. Funny thing, after all that, the neighborhood feels more like a real community than it ever did under Patricia's rule. People linger on their porches a little longer, wave instead of turning away. Victor's started a petition for a new playground, no tactical vest required. And every time I see those old cameras go up to record another block party or birthday, I just smile, because now the whole street knows. Authority's not about who shouts the loudest, but who stands up when it matters. So let me throw it back to you. What do you think makes a neighborhood worth living in? Is it rules, respect, or just showing up for each other when it counts? I want to hear your take, your stories, your honest opinions. Hit that comment box. Tell me where you stand. And if you think it's time we all spoke up a little more, go on and share this story. Because trust me, every street's got a Patricia, and every block needs someone willing to say, not today.